guys, today's myth of programmer. Why are programmers antisocial? Or are they? Let's start with are they? Are programmers antisocial? So, first of all, let's talk about the definition of antisocial. What is antisocial? Antisocial means no friends, or don't hang out with people. You might mean asocial. Doesn't mean no friend. No friend 아니야? Sorry. They have friends but never hang out. Don't go out maybe. Then is there a word for don't go out? Because you think of programmers as, hey, we don't want to talk to you, but I don't want to talk to you guys. I just want to be in my home programming. They have friends, but they think they have no friends. Wait, suddenly we got a big issue. What is antisocial? If programmers have friends, who will keep the Linux? Oh, okay. Kind of actively being against the social norm. So maybe we're not using the right term. Maybe we should have used asocial. So then, are programmers asocial? Asocial, not social, etc. Here's the big question. Who never goes out and doesn't talk to anyone? Are you asking, or are you saying that's what they do? So we might either have to write introvert. Are all programmers introvert? Maybe that's the right question. So antisocial also means not sociable, not wanting the company of others though. So maybe two different meaning. So who here is a programmer who's introverted and can agree with this? And who here is an extroverted programmer who can kind of defend saying, hey, there's people like me who goes, I love partying while, programming, or we have this programming club with all the extroverted programmers where we all program together and we all drink beer. Talking to people can be hard sometimes because people have their way of doing life. Programming turns you into that's the thing. Why though? So you're extroverted. Why? How? And you're a programmer too, right? I knew a programmer that liked socializing online more than offline. That's true. Programmer can't communicate with non-programmers? That's so sedgy. Why? So maybe programmers are antisocial because they use their way of talking. Feel like these are more stereotypes though. So actually, guys, maybe in reality, we think that programmers are antisocial, but actually they are social and that they want to talk to people. But maybe the real question is they don't know how because they're used to talking to computers. That sounds kind of rude, right? If I say if they're used to talking to the computers. But I think, but you know what I mean? Because they're sitting here more of coding instead of, doing a lot of interacting with people, right? So maybe that's the real thing. Maybe this is just a myth of saying programmers are actually not antisocial and that programmers want to talk to people. I think if you're going to be a programmer, you have to be social. How will you get a job? Here's the thing. It's like saying, it's kind of like how college, like SAT, ACT. You could get a 36 on your ACT or whatever the highest, 2,500 for SAT, and you could still fail to read. You know what I mean? Or you could still fail to do math. Because if you learn in your brain how the logics work, you could use that you could ace it on your SAT and ACT and still flunk your essays, your writing essays, your English class essays. So yeah, programmers want to talk, but they don't know how. Oh, SATs now 2,400? Oh shoot. Most people have to work collaboratively with people, teams, client though. But I think this is where the introvert versus extrovert comes out, where some of the extrovert enjoy talking to other people, team client, but programmers mostly don't enjoy talking to other people, team clients. It went back to 2000. Oh, really? What do you mean programmers can speak at least 12 languages? Yeah. So maybe the real definition here and the real myth, or maybe this is true of this myth, is that instead of saying programmers are antisocial, right? Not antisocial, or maybe we're not using that word, but the real definition of programmers are that they're mostly introvert. But obviously there should be extroverted programmers out there, but most of the people are introverts. So not even introverts. Maybe growing up introverted led them into programming interest in the first place. Oh! So maybe that's a really good point. Maybe they start from being a introvert. So they're born as an introvert and they grew up trying to figuring out what they work the best, and that became programming. That's so crazy. Maybe that's actually how it is. I believe most programmers are extrovert but are forced to be introverts. We are just trying to build a friend that understands us. Is that why you program? I think the idea that a lot of programmers are not very sociable is because of the idea that programming doesn't really deal with people, so they lack the practice exposure to socializing. That's true. Maybe back in the infancy of computers when they weren't really usable by regular people. Maybe it started from back then, like old myth. Maybe this is like 1990s myth, where when they had to deal with computers that people weren't used to, that's why people thought they were antisocial, because these people can only talk to the computers and we couldn't. So they're like, oh, they are probably don't want to talk to us because they're busy talking to computers. Typical programmers back in 80s probably fit in stereotypes more than programmers now. So it takes a lot of focus to program, but that intensity might be viewed as antisocial. Oh, that's another good point. So, oh, I like these. So maybe this myth, we gotta maybe start with where this myth came from then. So it might have come from back in 1990s, where people didn't know about programming. People are like, what is programming? What? You code the computer? Like, what the hell is that? And then the fact that, like, you know, to program, you have to focus. Because you have to think a lot. You have to think in, like, 3-dimension. If I say ancient, I feel like you guys are gonna kill me. So but to program, you have to focus. The intensity might be viewed as antisocial. I like that one. So not 1990, 1980. The problem is the media. Why? 1990 is so ancient, guys. That's 20 years ago. Okay. For those in 2000, when people talked about 1980s, oh wait, sorry, I have to think more back then. So let's conclude about this antisocial myth that programmers have, guys. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but instead of saying programmers, or I should say, programmers used to be viewed as antisocial people because back then people couldn't use the computers, or they had issues knowing that only the programmers can fix, you know, what's wrong with your computer. And the fact that when you're programming, I don't know if you've seen me, but I look super intense and I talk to myself. That's the thing. When you program, maybe not everyone does this, but you tend to talk to yourself being like, okay, like I tried this and that, but why isn't this working? Or is this actually working? Or what's actually the issue? So that's why people are getting this antisocial programming image. But guys, shockingly nowadays, programming is like the boom that people should be doing now, and that like everyone, at least in Korea, middle school, high school, they're all learning to program. So I guess it's the new trend. Who would have thought back in 1990s who was like programming, or 1980s being like, oh my god, that is the nerdiest job. Like, if you want to be antisocial, like, you should be a programmer, to now being like, oh my god, if you want to be cool, you have to program. Because guess what? You could program a robot or make your own game programming. Yeah, now it's a myth. Now people don't view it as antisocial, but now it's the trend. Can you guys believe it? Programmers, you guys are the new trend. You guys are fashionable. Like, be proud of yourself for being a programmer and kind of like do that, I'm a programmer, I get to do whatever I want kind of attitude. Because you guys are now not antisocial, but the cool kids who program. So they can program all they want. I'll laugh at them when I ask them to do cursive handwriting. It's like how all you younger people know Photoshop. Yeah, back then, if you knew Photoshop, then they were like, oh my god, that's crazy. I'm proud to be an end user. I want to be a programmer. Yeah, everyone's looking up to you guys, all programmers. A few years ago, programmers get discriminated in society. Nowadays, people like programmers. I know. Now everyone is antisocial, programmers or not. That's why programmers are no different any longer. So maybe the reality is that everyone is now antisocial. And then back then, because now everyone's used to technology. That's so true. Because back then, only the antisocial people were those using technology, those who could do computers, coding, yada yada yada. But now, because everyone's used to their phone and stuff. So anyways, that's the myth of programmers, is that either nowadays programmers aren't antisocial and that they're really cool because everyone wants to be one, and that this myth is actually a myth starting in 1990s or 1980s when the Macintosh or all the fancy computers have been out, or the fact that everyone is now becoming antisocials because they're getting used to technology and that programmers are still the same. So either one. So we don't know if this is actually true or not, but that's the myth of programmers.